Overseas loomed like a golden horizon. In Europe, Asia, and Australia, elite leagues offered salaries 2, 3, even 4 times higher than what the WNBA allowed. They came with perks the American system couldn't match: fully covered housing, private transportation, shorter seasons, and a level of peace from the relentless media that had become a constant presence in her life. For a superstar like Caitlin Clark, the appeal was undeniable. Imagine being paid her true worth, treated like the centerpiece she already was, allowed to simply play, free from the crushing expectations that had followed her every step. To the WNBA, this wasn't just a nightmare scenario. It was an existential threat. Clark leaving wouldn't just be about money. It would be about power. Her departure would signal that the league couldn't protect or properly reward its brightest star. It would expose the illusion that the WNBA had finally arrived and show just how fragile its recent success really was. The fear was simple. If Caitlin Clark could walk away, so could others. The very foundation of women's basketball in America would tremble, and the unthinkable would hang in the air. What is the WNBA without Caitlin Clark? The world watched her career evolve into a high-stakes gamble, a tug-of-war between loyalty and liberation. Staying meant continuing to inspire, pushing for reform from within, and shouldering the league through its most pivotal era. But it came with suffocating risks: a salary that barely scratched the surface of a market value, constant public pressure, and a system too slow to change. Leaving meant freedom, financial recognition, control over her schedule, and space to breathe. But it also meant turning her back on the very movement she had sparked, and possibly becoming remembered not as a savior, but as the one who walked away. The weight of that choice transformed her. She was no longer just an athlete. She was a symbol, a mirror reflecting the broken promises of women's sports, a spotlight exposing the cracks beneath the glittering surface of progress. Her motives became headlines, her silence a story, her every word dissected for hidden meaning. It wasn't just a future that felt at stake. It was the credibility of an entire league. And through it all, her power only grew. Her presence continued to fill arenas once considered dead zones. Her jersey outsold every other name in the league. Sponsors chased her, eager to attach their brands to the phenomenon she had become. She had transcended the WNBA, becoming a cultural force too large for the league's outdated infrastructure to contain. Caitlin Clark wasn't just the face of the Indiana Fever. She was the face of women's basketball. And in that role, she had something more valuable than any stat line or trophy: leverage. She could wield it in any direction. Stay, and she could demand reform. Leave, and she could expose the league's failings to the world. Either way, she had forever changed the power dynamic of professional women's basketball. Few athletes in history had stood at such a crossroads, where every decision echoed across culture, commerce, and sport. But Clark was different. She wasn't just rewriting history. She was holding the future hostage, one choice away from detonating everything the league thought it had secured. And everyone knew it. The tension grew with every game, every headline, every anonymous whisper from inside locker rooms. Fans debated endlessly. Was her heart already gone? Could the league afford to lose her? Would she stay loyal to the system she revived, or chase the recognition and compensation waiting overseas? The uncertainty became electric, a storm waiting to erupt. What began as admiration for her talent turned into desperation for her decision. Every highlight reel felt like it could be her last. Every cryptic comment sounded like a countdown. The suspense was unbearable and intentional. Sometimes silence says more than any press conference ever could. Clark's refusal to clarify her future kept her at the center of every conversation. And maybe that was the point. With every passing day, her influence deepened. Television networks leaned on her for ratings. Teams relied on her to fill seats. The league leaned on her for relevance. She wasn't just its star, she was its lifeline, and at the same time, its biggest threat. With one decision, she could save the WNBA, or sink it, and she knew exactly how much power she held. Her story had surpassed the boundaries of sport. This wasn't about a rookie's rise or a player negotiating a contract. It was about legacy, leverage, and the future of women's athletics. Caitlin Clark had become the central figure in a battle much bigger than herself. The question was no longer whether she could transform the WNBA. She already had. The only question left was whether she would stay to finish what she started. It didn't start with a press conference or a glossy social media announcement. It began with a single, offhand remark that sent everything spiraling into chaos. Caitlin Clark, the rookie phenom carrying the weight of an entire league on her shoulders, casually said she planned to attend every road game, whether she was playing or not. To outsiders, it sounded like dedication. To insiders, it sounded like a warning. Beneath that quiet sentence lay a storm of questions. Was she hiding an injury? Was she burnt out? Or was this a final clue that she was preparing to walk away altogether? The reaction was immediate and merciless. Within minutes, whispers became speculation. Speculation became headlines. Headlines became a frenzy that dominated every corner of sports media. Caitlin Clark, the brightest light in the WNBA, might be on her way out. Fans couldn't comprehend it. Analysts picked apart every syllable. Social media exploded with theories, conspiracies, and desperate pleas for clarity. Was this just frustration bubbling to the surface, or had Clark reached a breaking point? The more silence that followed, the louder the speculation became, building a portrait of a superstar trapped at a crossroads. And this wasn't just any superstar. This was Caitlin Clark, arguably the most impactful rookie the league had ever seen. In her debut season, she redefined what it meant to be a professional athlete. She averaged nearly 20 points per game, delivered impossible assists, and attacked the board with relentless energy. She wasn't just playing basketball, she was rewriting the game as it unfolded. Her statistics told only part of the story. The Indiana Fever, once an afterthought in the league's landscape, suddenly found themselves in the national spotlight. Years of irrelevance vanished the moment Clark put on a jersey. She led them back to the playoffs, dragging a forgotten franchise into the forefront. But she gave them more than wins. She gave them belief. For the first time in nearly a decade, fan-flooded arenas not out of obligation, but out of awe. Every game felt like a must-watch event. Every possession held weight. Her presence transformed the Fever into something larger than a team. It became a phenomenon. And her influence didn't stop there. Ticket sales surged. Arenas sold out. Scalpers charged thousands. Television ratings shattered records that had once seemed untouchable. Caitlin Clark turned the WNBA from a niche product into a national spectacle. Overnight, she became more than a basketball player. She became the most important figure in women's sports. A lightning rod. A symbol. The one name capable of forcing sponsors and casual fans to take the league seriously. That's what made her cryptic statement so terrifying. Because this wasn't just about one athlete. If Caitlin Clark chose to walk away, she wouldn't just be leaving her team. She'd be walking away from the entire momentum of the league. Every sponsorship, every broadcast deal, every surge in merchandise sales, all of it had her fingerprints on it. And without her, the WNBA faced a sobering reality. It could all unravel. Beneath the surface, the cracks were already forming. For all the headlines, the WNBA system wasn't built for someone like her. The salary cap limited her to just over $250,000, a fraction of the revenue she helped generate. Her contract tied her to Indiana, offering little flexibility. She had shattered expectations, elevated the league, and in doing so, exposed its limitations. And now, she was a prisoner of the very system she'd revitalized. The contradiction was stark. Outside the league, companies lined up to endorse her. Her jersey became the best-selling in the sport. Her highlights dominated social media. She had become a brand unto herself. But inside the league, she was boxing by outdated rules and a structure too slow to evolve. For Clark, it wasn't about ego. It was about value. How could she keep giving everything to a system that refused to give back? Her silence grew louder with each passing day. And that single sentence, simple, vague, loaded, kept echoing, carrying with it the weight of a decision that could change everything.